Welcome to your Catholic Drive Time,
keeping you informed and inspired.
We love God, we ought to be able to talk about Him.
Getting you started on your day.
With the latest in breaking news and information.
From the Vatican to the White House and everything in between.
It's serious, it's fun, it's your Catholic Drive Time.
And welcome to Catholic Drive Time. This is your host, Adrian Fonseca. Today is Tuesday, December 12th, 2023, the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Can you believe it? We made it to the feast of Our Lady Guadalupe. And most people know the story of Our Lady Guadalupe. Everybody, pretty much. I mean, how could you be an American and not know the story of the Empress of the Americas? But many people may not have actually heard the words that were spoken between Juan Diego and the Blessed Virgin. So I want to share that with you. There were about 3 apparitions where Our Lady appeared to Juan Diego. And in the first apparition, Our Lady addressed Juan Diego and speaking in Mexican idioms. And you also will notice here, whenever I read this to you, is the way in which Juan Diego addressed Our Lady. Remember, he was a very poor and humble man, but notice the regality of his manner of speech is very beautiful. So Our Lady says, "Juanito, my son, the humblest of my children, where are you going?" He says, "Noble lady, I go to the church in Tlatelolco to listen to such divine matters as our priest teaches us." She said, "Know for certain, dearest of my sons, that I am the perfect and ever Virgin Mary, Mother of the true God, the Lord of all things and the Master of heaven and earth. I ardently desire a temple to be built here, where I will show and offer all my love, compassion, help, and protection to the people and those who look for me. I am your merciful mother, the mother of all who live in this land and of all mankind. I will hear the weeping and sorrows of those who love me. Cry to me and have confidence in me, and I will give them consolation and relief. Therefore, so that my designs might be fulfilled, go to the house of the Bishop of Mexico City and tell him that I sent you, and that it is my desire to have a temple built in this place. Tell him all that you have seen and heard, and be assured that I shall be grateful and will reward you for diligently carrying out what I have asked of you." Juan Diego bowed low and said, "My Holy One, my Lady, I will go now and do all that you ask of me. Thy humble servant bids thee farewell." On the second apparition, the same afternoon, Juan Diego returned to the hilltop from the bishop's palace, and the Holy Virgin was waiting for her. He told her, "Noble lady and most loved mistress, I did what you commanded. Even though it was difficult to be admitted to speak with the bishop, I saw his excellency and communicated to him your message. He received me kindly and listened with attention, but then he answered me, and it seemed as if he did not believe me. So I beg you, noble lady, entrust this message to someone of importance, someone well known and respected, so that they might believe in him. For I am a nobody, a piece of straw, a lowly peasant, and you, my lady, has sent me to a place where I have no standing. Forgive me if my answer has caused you grief or displeasure, my lady and my mistress." And on the third apparition, and the last apparition, the Holy Virgin insisted she wanted Juan Diego to go to the bishop. He did so, and Our Lady, saying that the bishop, to prove what had happened, said, "Very well, my dear little one, return here tomorrow, and you will take to the bishop the sign that he has requested. And with this he will believe you and no longer doubt or be suspicious of you. Know, my beloved little one, that I will reward your solitude, your solicitude, efforts, and fatigue spent on my behalf. Go now, I will wait here tomorrow." Then he tries to dodge her apparition from the hilltop. And I guess this is the fourth apparition, but not the fourth one on the hilltop, because he goes around, and this is what happens. Juan Diego took a different route because he wanted to find a priest for his uncle who is gravely ill, but Our Lady meets him at the bottom of the hill and says, What is this, my little son? Where are you going?" Juan Diego answered, "My beloved lady, God keep you. How are you this morning? Is your health good, my dearest lady? It will grieve you to hear what I have to say. My uncle, your poor servant, is sick. He has taken the plague and is near death. I am hurrying to your house in Mexico City to call a priest to hear his confession and give him last rites. When I have done this, I will return here immediately so I may deliver your message. Forgive me, I beg you, my lady. Be patient with me for now. I will not deceive you, and tomorrow I will come in all haste. She answered, Listen to what I'm going to tell you, my son, and let not your heart be disturbed. Do not fear that plague or any other sickness or anguish. Am I not here who am your mother? Are you not under my protection and care? Am I not your life and health? Are you not in the folds of my mantle and the embrace of my arms? What else do you need? Do not be grieved or disturbed by anything. She told him not to worry and that she would heal his uncle from his sickness. And in fact, at this moment, he was already cured. And you already know the rest of the story of the tilma bringing it to the bishop and the miraculous image and the conversion of Mexico. But I think what the takeaway from this should be, there's many things to take away from Our Lady of Guadalupe, but for today, I think the beautiful thing to think about is the manner in which Our Lady spoke to Juan Diego and Juan Diego spoke to Our Lady, with such sincerity, with such intimacy, with such familiarity. And I think that's what we should have with Our Lady. So what do we ask for in the Feast of Our Lady Guadalupe? Let's ask that Our Lady Guadalupe come and be the Empress of the Americas once again, and that she retake the Americas for her most immaculate heart. Our Lady of Guadalupe, pray for us. Joining us right now is Rudy Carlos. Good morning to you, Rudy.
Good morning, Adrian. Praise be to God. Our Lady of Guadalupe, our namesake here at the Guadalupe Radio Network. And gosh, I'm just thinking about Juan Diego and Saint Juan Diego, actually. And I'm thinking about his words, his response to Our Lady. Please send somebody better than me, somebody else. How many of us think at different points in our life, oh, if only it was somebody else, I don't know, maybe somebody better than me, somebody who can speak better, just anybody but me, right? And we think we don't have that influence, but we do. We have so much influence. And what became of Mexico because of Juan Diego's yes? Mexico became a Catholic country. There's millions of pagans left the darkness of paganism, and they joined the one true church. That is incredible because of one man's yes.
Amen. Praise be to God for that. Amen. Amen. Yeah, I think it's something to keep in mind and to recognize, it's not us, right?
It's
At the end of the day, it's all Our Lady. If she don't do it, well, it's not going to get done.
Also, I just want to say how absurd it is if you get a mandate from heaven and you try and avoid it. I mean, it's like, come on,
I
guys.
think
You're
honestly,
not gonna make it.
It shows kind of the humility of Juan Diego, because he kind of talked to her as if she was like not in heaven. Like she was like,
how's your health?
Yeah, she's like, how are you doing?
I mean, not that you would be sick. It's just that,
right, exactly. I thought that was so charming. He was just like, oh, my lady, how's your health? How are you feeling today? Like, just the Queen of Heaven.
How's your son? Is he doing okay?
So what a beautiful thing to meditate upon. Well, coming up in this hour, Tucker Carlson launches TCN streaming network. We're going to talk about that. At 30 past the hour, Joe Kral, founder and president of the Society of St. Sebastian. We're going to talk about the new pro-life or legislation and laws and how they are working out in Texas. A very interesting conversation. In the next hour, Adam Bly with the Spirit World will be joining us. And, of course, we have our Fear and Trembling game show. But let's begin in prayer. We're going to be praying for the salvation of souls, the liberty and exaltation of Holy Mother Church, for our friends, family, and benefactors, and all those we promise to pray for the healing of my friend's son, Nicholas, and for my grandfather, and for everybody on the Our Lady Guadalupe pilgrimage in San Antonio, especially our friend Richard Reyna. Oh, in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, amen. Oh, divine infant Jesus, I have recourse to thee. Please, through thy blessed mother, assist me in this necessity, because I firmly believe that thy divinity can help me. I hope with confidence to obtain thy holy grace. I love thee with all my heart and with all the strength of my soul. I repent sincerely of my sins and beg thee, O good Jesus, to grant me the strength to triumph over them. I reserve never to more to offend thee, and I come to offer myself to thee with the intention of enduring everything rather than to displease thee. Henceforth I desire to serve thee with fidelity, and for the love of thee, O divine infant, I will love my neighbor as myself. All-powerful infant, O Jesus, I implore thee again, assist me in this. Grant me the grace of possessing thee eternally with Mary and Joseph, and of adoring thee with the angels in the heavenly court. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. And now your headline news with Rudy Carlos.
Good morning. You're listening to Catholic Drive Time, keeping you informed and inspired. Here are some of your breaking news and headlines this morning. Cardinal Sarah, well, he's not so silent anymore, apparently. Cardinal Sarah addresses First African Congress on liturgy. If you don't get that, he wrote a book about silence. A Congress in Dakar examined Sacrosanctum Concilium, the Constitution on the Sacred Liturgy, 60 years after its promulgation, under the theme, quote, the state of the liturgical question in Africa, achievements, challenges, and prospects, unquote. The emphasis of cultural elements over Christian ones during liturgical celebrations is a distortion of the paschal mystery that defines the liturgy. If we look at the liturgy as a practical matter of pastoral efficiency, we run the risk of turning it into a human work, a set of more or less successful ceremonies, the Cardinal said in a homily during an opening Mass for the Congress. Continuing, he says, quote, for 60 years, we note that year after year, the liturgical reform, allied by much idealism and great hopes by many priests and laypeople, turns out to be an avalanche of improvisation, of creativity, and liturgical desolation, instead of the renewal of the Church and the ecclesial life, he said. We are witnessing today, especially in the West, a dismantling of the values of faith and piety that have been handed down to us, and instead of a frequent renewal of the liturgy, we are witnessing a destruction of the forms of the Mass, he lamented. And moving on, are you terminally online, Adrian? I wonder. 1 in 3 U.S. teens, well, you're not a teen anymore, almost certainly uses social media sites like YouTube and TikTok, according to a study. Of the 71% of teens whose social media sites of choice is YouTube, 38% told Pew that they visit the site multiple times per day, while 16% said they're on the platform almost constantly. TikTok users are even more hooked, with 17% saying that they almost constantly scroll through the app each day, despite it being the first choice of 58%. And about half of the teens use Snapchat and Instagram daily, Pew reported. A somewhat larger share of reports using Snapchat, almost constantly compared with Instagram, was 14% versus 8%. And the Supreme Court denies a Christian family counselor's challenge to Washington's censorship law. The Supreme Court declined on Monday to hear a challenge to a Washington state law prohibiting counselors from engaging in conversations that encourage changes to a minor's sexual orientation or gender identity. The law, adopted in 2018, threatens to fine counselors who violate it up to $5,000 and revoke their license. The Supreme Court declined on Monday to hear Tingley versus Ferguson, a Christian family counselor Brian Tingley's First Amendment challenge to the state's counseling censorship law, though Justice Brett Kavanaugh, Samuel Alito, and Clarence Thomas noted that they would have taken the case. Quote, under SB 5722, licensed counselors can speak with minors about gender dysphoria, but only if they convey the state-approved message of encouraging minors to explore their gender identities, Thomas wrote in a short dissenting opinion. Expressing any other message is forbidden, even if the counselor's clients ask for help to accept their biological sex. That is the viewpoint-based and content-based discrimination. Based on discrimination is its purest form, unquote. Those are some of your headlines this morning, but stay tuned on Catholic Drive Time for more.
Based?
Based? Was he talking about based? I don't know.
The gospel of the day comes from Luke chapter 1, verses 26 through 38. This is the, of course, scene of the Annunciation. Now, the only thing I'll bring up here is, again, my rant against the movie Journey to Bethlehem, which was terrible, and nobody should watch it because it is blasphemous and sacrilegious. And so in the movie, it has the angel Gabriel appearing to Our Lady and scares Our Lady, wakes her up at night. The angel bumps his head against the door. Where Cornelius Lapide, talking about this, said that he glided into the chamber of the Virgin as she was praying in secret for the advent of the Messiah and for the salvation of men. And for the angels, since they are most pure spirits, by means of their subtlety, pass through all the walls and bodies. I think it's a great thing to meditate upon the image of Fra Angelico, where the angel kneels to Our Lady who is meditating on Holy Scripture. She accepts the word in her mind and in her heart before her womb. We'll be right back.
The Guadalupe Radio Network has a position open for an event coordinator. This position will be located in San Antonio, Texas. The GRN event coordinator has the goal to organize unforgettable events that are in line with the mission of the Guadalupe Radio Network's efforts of evangelization. This is a wonderful opportunity to join an apostolate dedicated to the highest level of professionalism, competence, ethics, and Catholic values. We are dedicated to spreading the knowledge, love, and practice of the Catholic faith by means of radio. The GRN offers a competitive salary and an amazing benefits package. If you are an active, faithful Catholic and would like to explore a career with the Guadalupe Radio Network, submit your resume and a cover letter as to why you want to come work for the Guadalupe Radio Network. Please send to careers@grnonline.com. Again, that's careers@grnonline.com.
So many of us carry such heavy burdens.
You're crazy!
Deep within, we struggle.
Come on, babe. Let's be fun.
Because sin separates us from God.
She's having a relationship with George.
But thanks to the grace of confession, God compassionately listens, forgives, and sets us free. So if it's been a while since you've been to confession or Mass, come home and experience a fresh start. Visit CatholicsComeHome.org.
Catholic Drive Time. This is your host, Adrian Fonseca. Praise be to God. It's good to be on with you today. No matter what's going on in the world today, it is still good to be here. Yes, it's true. Yeah, no fact check needed. Source, trust me, bro.
It came to me in a dream.
Came to me in a dream. Do you dream, Rudy?
Yes.
Really?
Not often, though.
I never dream.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I like very, very rarely. Usually it's like when I'm sick, and then the dreams are just like a fever dream, dude. It's wild.
Somebody told me that if you have a dream and you want to remember it, that you lay your head on the pillow, don't turn side to side because you'll forget. I don't know how in the world that would.
Well, you see, your brain gets shaken up, and then all of a sudden you forget your dream. That's what it is. It's scientific. Trust the science.
Yeah, last night I had a dream that an angel told me to just leave.
Yeah?
Yeah, he told me to go to Egypt.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
That's wild. You should go do that. If an angel appeared to you and told you to do it, you should do it.
The amount of trust that Our Lady had in St. Joseph, for just St. Joseph to just be like, hey, I literally just had a dream. We need to go. She's like, okay, we're going to leave everything behind.
It's like,
okay.
oh, yeah? Source? And he said, it came to me in a dream. Praise be to God. That's awesome. I never thought about that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that's pretty bold thing to do, is tell people to just
pack it up.
Yeah, just pack it up and let's go. But yeah, Our Lady had perfect trust in her husband. Mm-hmm. So what a grace. What a grace. Anyway, on to stories that are less Christmassy. Though this Friday, you're going to want to stick with us because we're going to talk about our favorite Christmas movies. And I want to know what your favorite Christmas movie is. Maybe I can add it to the list. I'm collecting a list of Christmas movies. And here's the qualifications. It has to be Christmas themed. It can't just be a movie that takes place during Christmas time.
Wow, dude. That's messed up.
You're
talking about Die Hard, isn't it?
What? Die Hard is totally 100% a Christmas movie.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, it's 100%.
I thought you were setting up to say it's not.
It can't just be like a winter movie or something. It has to be Christmas related. And Die Hard obviously is Christmas related.
And you get bonus points if you let us know what your favorite Hallmark movie is.
There you go.
Because
so let us
all
know
the same.
and send us an email, or better yet, join our YouTube chat, our Facebook, Rumble, and leave a comment there. And we'd love to. I'd fill those comments and make a list of your favorite Christmas movies, and we're going to talk about them on Friday. So join us then. I'd be very excited to hear what your favorite movie is. Okay, on to this story. Tucker Carlson launches TCN streaming service. Former Fox News host Tucker Carlson has unveiled his new streaming service, the Tucker Carlson Network, offering a platform for facts and honesty every day. Announcing the launch, Carlson emphasized the need for an honest source of information, free from corporate influence, and expressed concerns about global challenges like economic meltdown, political unrest, mass migration, TCN will feature various programs including interviews, uncensored content, shorts, and documentaries. Carlson, who left Fox News in April, aims to provide an alternative news source with a focus on transparency. TCN will offer monthly subscriptions at $9 with discounted annual plans are available at $6 per month. Okay, so that's the story. Why? Okay, great for Tucker Carlson. I hope he makes a lot of money. Do we really need another streaming network? Can't he just use one of the things that already exist? I mean, at this point, I think I'm going to start my own streaming network. We'll call it the AXF or the AF. I don't know. That sounds bad. That sounds bad. Adrian Fonseca. It's not good initials for that. That has a bad connotation. I don't know. What should I call it, Rudy?
Guadalupe TV.
Guadalupe TV.
No. What else? What would be a good name?
Yeah, we gotta come up with something because apparently everybody's gonna have their own. See, like Alex Jones went off and created his own because he got kicked off of everything, and then Rumble had to create their thing. Parler created their thing, and
we even thought about doing our own thing.
That's true, we did. And it's I mean, I can see why, because you kind of want to protect yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like, is this just going to be Tucker Carlson? Or is this going to be like another streaming platform?
Tucker Carlson, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's
Well,
just like a camera of him sleeping.
He can't even, well, it could be that, but like he can't, there's no possibility that he can actually provide enough content for this, right?
Yeah, well, I imagine. So when people start these private sort of streaming networks, they typically gather people around them, like the Daily Wire, which now has Ben Key and, Ben Key for Kids, and then, they have all these other shows and things like that. So you develop the content as you go. But yeah, it's getting a little bit absurd. And you and I have talked about how we really dislike subscription models. Subscription models are of the devil. Like it used to be that you would own things. Now it's you pay to access them per month, like Adobe, for instance. And
yeah, because I like being able to
world.
own things. And then also, whenever there is so many of these networks that it's like, oh, it's only $6 a month. But then at the end of it, you're paying like $100, $400 a month for like a billion different subscription services.
Yeah.
Like, no, thank you. So I hope this works out for him. But honestly, I probably will not be subscribing. And I'm reading it, and it really does sound like it's just going to be him.
I like Tucker.
I like him.
Cool.
I like him well enough. But I just don't think, why? I guess he's doing it because you can make more money this way. But what was the problem with just like using the other platforms that exist and monetizing it that way?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like what like Timcast News does. Then they have like exclusive stuff behind the paywall. Or Daily Wire does the same thing. I wonder what his thinking is for trying to do it this way. Because he's saying it's because of free speech and stuff. But there's already things out there that kind of protect free speech if he needs to do that way. Twitter's already doing it. X is doing it.
I can understand that. I mean, one of the challenges that we faced with streaming, using the platforms that are available to us is, there's obviously some topics that you can't cover. And the platform will strike you for it, shadow ban you, and do all these things. So I can understand why he would want to do his own thing. But yeah, I mean, there's ways around it. There's ways around these different censors. And maybe he's just tired. He just doesn't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, it could be. And he has star power enough to draw a crowd.
True.
Where he can easily live off of the subscriptions that he gets from this.
Mm-hmm.
You only need about 1,000 people signing up monthly, and he's going to make enough to live off of. So I think it's, I don't know. Stay tuned. The Adrian Fonseca Network will be launching in a couple weeks. So please subscribe, and there you go, folks. No, I'm just joking. So, okay, here's another story. I did bring that story up just because I thought it was, I'm just kind of sick of so many streaming services. Nothing against Tucker Carlson in particular, just streaming services. I'm over it. I want to buy things. I want to own it. That's another thing about music, too. The streaming of music. You can make your favorite artist like the number one by buying their album. Because the buying of the album it actually boosts them in sales significantly, because the vast majority of albums that go viral are because of streaming, and it doesn't make as much money. And so if you could convince a big chunk of your audience to just purchase your album instead of just streaming it, you actually would jump up in the charts. Fun
Really?
fact. Yeah.
Who does that anymore?
Nobody. No, the reason why I know about it is because Phil Labonte, who's like a rock star or whatever, who's a conservative, was talking about it because he like tells people buy the album, like actually purchase the album. Like he's like, it only costs like $8 and it'll help me significantly. We'll make a conservative musician on the top of the charts, and sure enough, it works. Yeah,
go figure.
Yeah, so buying things. I mean, cash is king, right? So there you go, folks. Anyway, so this story here, I think, is another interesting story. Missouri lawmakers propose women who get abortions should be charged with murder. Now, more interesting than the actual debate here in the particulars is kind of the question in the abstract, because this was always a question for me. And I brought this up. Who did I bring this up with? I brought this up with one of the pro-life leaders years ago. And I was like, look, I get it from a optics point of view. Like, you don't want to say women who have abortions should be arrested or should be charged. But my question is, what are they doing? Like, if they're committing murder, should they not be charged? I don't understand the argument for not charging them with murder. Now, people would say, okay, but before it wasn't murder. Well, it was always murder, but yes, the law didn't recognize it as such. So, of course, you need to be lenient whenever you're going backwards and applying it. So you would basically give amnesty to anybody who committed the crime prior to the law being changed. But once the law is changed, it's law. I mean, it's murder, right? If the child in the womb is a human person, then you kill it, you committed murder. And if the mother is under duress or something like that, well, you treat it just like any other case. If somebody kills somebody under duress in a normal circumstance, well, they would take that into consideration in the court. And so you treat it just like any other case. If the person is forced into an abortion, well, then the person's not a murderer. If someone forced them to have an abortion, it'd be the same thing if someone grabbed a gun and put it in your hand and made you pull the trigger, right? So you wouldn't be a murderer. So I don't see the argument for saying that you could not charge women who get abortions at least with some kind of crime. Because people say, oh, but you can't blame the women. The women are victims in the situation. Oh, I'm sure there are many cases in which women are the victims. I'm sure there's many cases. But the many cases are that there is purely elective. It's purely elective because they don't want to inconvenience their life. And we know this from a lot of the celebrities who come out and talk about when they come out and they talk about their experience with their I was 25 and I didn't want to I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. It would mess up my career. And they're already millionaires. They're already very wealthy, and they were freely choosing to engage in the sexual act. And so then they kill their babies. So should they not be charged with anything? Is that what we're saying? So it never made sense to me. It never made sense to me that somebody who did that would not be charged with a crime. So the fact that it's coming up into question, I think, is good, because our laws need to reflect reality. And even if someone doesn't believe it, if someone doesn't believe that they're a person, because that's many cases people say, oh, but they don't believe that they're a human person, so they're not committing murder. Well, unfortunately, our beliefs don't really matter in the court of law. I mean, if you're a crazy person who doesn't believe that people around you are human beings and you start killing people, well, you'll still be arrested. Now, you might get able to plea insanity, but you probably should be institutionalized. So maybe that's something that could be addressed as well. But I think these debates need to happen. It needs to come up, and these questions need to be addressed, because it is a real situation. People are really being murdered. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, more breaking news and stories, plus Joe Kral with the St. Sebastian Society. We're going to talk more about pro-life issues right after this.
Hello, this is Steve Gleason with your one-minute tool for Catholic evangelism. Here's the question for your non-Catholic friend. Is the very contemporary and popular idea that a faith-alone salvation, which occurs by repenting of sins and asking Jesus in one's heart, sufficient to enter and warrant heaven upon death? I say no, it's not. Many evangelicals will say, just follow the Romans road, which is 4 verses snatched out of the book of Romans, and when followed, heaven is promised. Well, here's your 3 best friendship tools for Catholic evangelism. Number 1, the Bible. The Gospels, nor the epistles, nor the apostolic and early church fathers ever wrote anything like this mechanical approach. Secondly, the marriage experience. After wrongdoing and temporary departure from your family, does a simple one-time, hey honey, I'm really sorry, bring you back into the family? And thirdly, teaching of the Catholic Church, water baptism, loving God and neighbor, which is displayed by consistent acts of charity while maintaining a perseverant hope of heaven, is the surest way to God's eternal presence. And my pesky comeback, that Romans road is presumptuous and significantly dumbs down the holy value and price of salvation. And remember, that Romans road has some potholes.
Our family had been going through crisis. Little by little, we just found ourselves drifting completely away. I was afraid to go back. I mean, I cried the first time I received the sacraments again. Cried because I was back and because I had allowed God to become a part of me again. It's united our family. There's peace in our home that we didn't have before.
If you've been away from the Catholic Church for any reason, visit CatholicsComeHome.org today.
Welcome back to Catholic Drive Time, keeping you informed and inspired. And I'm Rudy Carlos. Here's more breaking news and headlines for you. A Texas woman who sought abortion is to leave the state for the procedure. Kate Cox, a Texas woman who had sought court permission to obtain an abortion due to a medical emergency, will instead leave the state to secure the procedure elsewhere after an appeal from Texas GOP Attorney General Ken Paxton challenged the lower court's decision. The Center for Reproductive Rights has represented Cox and plans to continue their suit against Texas. President Nancy Northrop reacted furiously to the litigation, saying, quote, Kate's case has shown the world that abortion bans are dangerous for pregnant people and exceptions don't work, unquote. And The Loop reports a Catholic parish confronts Michigan law. St. Joseph Parish in Michigan has asked a federal appeals court to protect its ability to hire employees who abide by Catholic moral teachings. The parish is concerned about a state law signed by Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer that prohibits discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity and does not allow any religious exemptions. Now, those are some of your headlines today, but keep listening on Catholic Drive Time, and may God bless all of your holy efforts today.
Did you say pregnant people?
Did I say pregnant people?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
you were quoting somebody else.
Did
you were
I?
quoting somebody else, but you mentioned there's like for pregnant people. It's like are there?
Oh yes, this is. Yeah, this is the person who represents this organization that's suing Texas. So yeah, they said pregnant people.
Right. I know. I was just saying.
So
I heard you say pregnant people, and I was like, isn't it so like silly? Like pregnant, and just say woman. Like, why can't you say a woman? Like, what other kind of pregnant people are there?
You can't say that, Adrian, because they identify as women.
Well,
them.
Well, the women might be identifying as a man, and then the man is pregnant, is what they're trying to imply.
Yeah. Essentially, they're any opportunity you got to throw in something in there just to kind of gain some political footing there with your voter base.
Yeah, because the voter base of the trans people is massive, right? Like it's like what 1% of the population.
But they have a lot of proxy warriors.
Let
me tell you,
they do. The quote unquote allies. Yikes. I don't know how these people have gotten such a massive foothold in society in such a quick manner. Though, I was looking at the bill we were talking about yesterday while you were going on, and the Missouri lawmakers, and they're putting this bill up. I mean, they have in here exceptions for, duress of people who are, of course, raped or incest or things like that. They have exceptions there for like a crime. And so I think that's interesting to keep up. That they are, in fact, factoring in sort of situations. They're not just saying, oh, yeah, if you commit abortion, you're going to be thrown in prison for 15 years. I mean, they are, in fact, using it in a very reasonable way, I think. It seems that their law here is pretty reasonable in terms of their articulation of how, in fact, they would punish people who engage in these acts. And whenever I think about this, Trent Horn has this thing where, and I really like what he has to say. He says that we should, what he called, trot out a toddler. And so whenever you're having an abortion debate, he says you trot out a toddler and say, okay, apply this to a toddler, and then we'll see if we're still saying the same thing. And I feel that way about whenever people talk about legally punishing somebody for committing abortion. I'm like, okay, well, would we punish this person if it was a toddler, or if the child was out of the womb? If the mother decided to do something like that out of the womb, what would we do? Well, of course, the person would be tried with a crime. And then, of course, you would say, okay, was the mother under duress? Was she like psychotic? Because, there's these rare cases where the women have these, I don't even know what it's called, but it's like a mental health thing where they drown their child or something like that. Mm-hmm. And of course, all those things need to be taken into account when it comes up. But you would treat it just like you would if the child was born. And that's kind of what I think people should do. But anyway, staying on the topic of pro-life issues, Mr. Joe Kral with the St. Sebastian Society is joining us. Good morning to you, Mr. Kral.
Good morning.
Praise be to God. It's good to have you on. Before we get started, tell me about the Society of St. Sebastian, because immediately when someone hears St. Sebastian, you think, okay, this is a sports-related thing. So what are we talking about here?
Well, interestingly enough, Saint Sebastian is one of the few martyrs that actually suffered a double martyrdom. A lot of people don't really realize this. They when they have an image of Saint Sebastian in their head, or usually when they see an image of Saint Sebastian, they see him full of arrows. And that's because Saint Sebastian, who was a Christian, and obviously being a Christian in ancient Rome, especially in the late 200s, was considered criminal. And on top of that, he was the emperor's captain of the imperial bodyguard. So, not only is he close to the authority figure of Rome who makes the laws, he's a Christian on top of it. Obviously, the emperor finds out and tells Sebastian to either make sacrifices to him or be put to death. And Saint Sebastian refuses to make sacrifices to the emperor, so the emperor orders him to be put to death. That's when he's taken outside the city walls, shot full of arrows. But the thing of it is people don't realize this. Saint Sebastian didn't die during that attempt. He was actually rescued by Saint Irene, who nursed him back to health. And the interesting story, the thing that we as a society that really motivates us is this particular side of the story here, is that Saint Sebastian, after he comes back into health, he does not just sort of slink off to some dark corner of the empire to just live out the rest of his life. Rather, he confronts the emperor and becomes a voice for the voiceless, sort of that pro-life theme that we see here. Becomes a voice for the voiceless, and those voiceless being the Christians of that era. And so he confronts the emperor and asks the emperor, it talks about the emperor to stop the persecutions. And so the emperor, obviously being surprised that he's one, alive, and two, that he's coming and confronting him about his public policy, orders him to be put to death again. And this time they were successful in what?
This time it sticks?
Yeah, clubs. Yeah, they club him to death. And so that's the sort of image that we have with Saint Sebastian, because Saint Sebastian becomes a voice for the voiceless, just like today, many people who lobby on behalf of the unborn child for public policies are speaking to authority figures. And in many respects, a lot of people don't know this. I myself, being a former pro-life lobbyist, we do suffer sort of a martyrdom of sorts. A lot of times we're rejected. A lot of times we're made fun of, or we're put down. It is a tough job.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right, for sure. And I think during our time, the courage in our time is moral courage. We have to have moral courage. In times past, we had to have physical courage to ride into battle and face off the enemy. But in our day, we have to have moral courage and face the slings and arrows people will sling at us, but from their words and from their writings and from their kind of rejection of us in society. And I think that's something to keep in mind. And especially when we think about our Lord, and who engaged in that same thing where he was rejected by his very own people. Now, Mr. Kral, we're talking about this story about interstate travel in regards to abortion. So tell me about this story. It's interesting because I kind of considered this a little bit, but I've never really given it too much thought. And I thought it was really interesting when you brought it up to me yesterday.
Yeah, the whole idea is this, as I'm sure many of your listeners are already aware, Texas already bans abortion as a practice. There is a rare exception for when the life of the mother is truly in danger. And so, for the most part, we do not see abortions in Texas anymore. I mean, we're talking maybe single digits. That's how effective this law is. But in addition to that, we have to understand that New Mexico still has abortion on demand over in their state. So what's going on now is some counties and some cities that sort of border New Mexico are looking into a public policy that would prohibit abortion trafficking through their state. And so they're trying to come up with local ordinances, if you will, that would prohibit the trafficking of a pregnant mother through their counties, using their county roads, that would prohibit that practice.
We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, more from Mr. Joe Kral, founder and president of the Society of St. Sebastian. We're going to talk about the implications of this law and what people are trying to do to stop abortions from happening across the border. We'll be right back with more right after this.
I promise to love you in good times and in bad, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. On your wedding day, you made this vow to your spouse in the presence of God and all those present. These are not words to be taken lightly, and the reality is that the responsibilities of marriage and family can be challenging at times. Good times can become bad in the blink of an eye. Things like financial hardship and sickness, among others, very often bring about fears and anxieties that make it difficult to be as loving as we should be. There is a simple Latin phrase to keep on hand when fear and anxiety take over our thoughts. Quid est hoc ad aeternitatem? What is this in the light of eternity? In other words, keep things in proper perspective. While the challenges here on this earth seem like a big deal at the moment, they are but a flash in the pan compared to all of eternity in heaven. This has been A Minute for Your Marriage and Family from the Three Hearts Institute. Check us out on Facebook.
We are a young and diverse generation, helping those in need and promoting human rights. We care for the environment. We embrace authentic witnesses and dream of a better world. Our passion comes from God, who loves us even when we fall and cheers on our victories. If you sometimes wonder, is there something more? Then come and see at CatholicsComeHome.com.
And welcome back to Catholic Drive Time. This is your host, Adrian Fonseca. Praise be to God. It's good to be on with you today. It's always good to be here with you. No matter what anybody says, no matter how bad the news is, it's good to be here with you. And I'm very grateful that you would take time out of your day to spend time with me. It means a lot to me, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Now, joining us right now is Joe Kral. He's the founder and president of the Society of St. Sebastian, a publication outlet that's dedicated to probing and advancing the knowledge of pro-life legislation and laws. Mr. Joe Kral, good morning to you. Now, before we went to break, we were talking about the interstate travel in regards to abortions, especially considering Texas going over to New Mexico. And this was a whole thing I saw whenever I went to the March for Life in El Paso. A lot of people were talking about the situation of the marketing of New Mexican abortions into Texas. And I thought that was really interesting. And it kind of brought up a question. How do these things kind of get enforced? Is this going to be interstate war between each other where Texans are trying to prosecute New Mexicans and New Mexicans are saying, oh, you're violating the rights of our citizens, of American citizens? And how does this exactly play out, practically speaking, of us having different laws and people traveling interstate to violate their home state's laws?
Well, it is an interesting battle. What'll happen in Texas typically is what we see within these laws is they have something that's called a private enforcement mechanism. And what'll happen with that particular part, it allows a citizen to bring up a civil action, if you will, against the perpetrator of the law. So whoever is driving the pregnant woman, for example, they go over to New Mexico, they get an abortion, they come back to Texas, and someone finds out about it. They can literally sue that person. They sue the driver, if you will. Now, what happens usually in states like New Mexico is they're quick to try to prevent the abortionist from being sued. So they'll try to pass legislation that would prevent the abortionist from being sued for violating another state law. So, for example, in some states, what we have is where an abortionist will send abortion pills through the mail. And so the state that blue state will pass legislation that will protect that abortionist in his action of doing that sort of thing. But again, like I was saying a moment ago, Texas is unique insofar as they have a private enforcement mechanism that it's not so much the state that enforces it, it's the private citizens that enforce it. So for example, when our fetal heartbeat law went into effect, 9 months prior to Roe being overturned, that's what it had, a private enforcement mechanism. That's why we basically saw abortion just literally almost drop off the face of the earth in this part of the country, in Texas. And so that private enforcement mechanism is something that many in the abortion industry are very, very scared of, because they recognize the effectiveness of this sort of law. And so many abortionists that are on the New Mexico side are obviously quite scared that this is what's going to happen. You're going to see county by county that are bordering New Mexico start passing such legislation.
So if this is something that's happening, you're saying it's only at the county level. So this is only happening, and so if you live in these counties, you can sue the people for going across the border to Mexico and having an abortion. But if you live in a different county, then you're not able to do so. So it just depends on your residence in your county. Is that what it is?
Yeah, right now that's what it is. So it would be county by county, and in fact, not all the counties that border New Mexico have passed such a policy just yet. The hope is that they eventually will.
And then, so the question for me is, whenever it happens that way, are we expecting private citizens to actually start suing, or is this something more like what we saw in San Antonio, where the Texas Right to Life sued the city as a private individuals, and so you have pro-life organizations suing rather than like you and me, or just a random person?
It really could be both. You could see organizations doing it. You could see individuals doing it. So the fact of the matter is, sure, and any organization would be able to sue that person who trafficked that pregnant mother. So whether it be an individual or an organization, that's the net effect of a private enforcement mechanism.
Now, people immediately will assume we're talking about, of course, elective abortions, people who are voluntarily doing this. But you brought up to me the fact that this is actually really good for helping prevent child trafficking, rape, incest, and things like that. So tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things to consider. So, studies have indicated, for example, that typically pregnant teens get impregnated by boyfriends that are at least 4 years older than them. And that's a significant age gap, especially within the teen years. So if you have a 14-year-old girl who's pregnant, it's not unusual to find out that she might have an 18 or 19-year-old boyfriend. Or in some other cases where the two may actually be close in age, you might have the mother of the boyfriend who wants to obtain a secret abortion without the parents ever knowing. And so it's important to understand that these are forms of trafficking where an adult boyfriend takes his minor girlfriend over to get a secret abortion, or the boyfriend's mother takes the girlfriend over to get a secret abortion. That obviously is a huge violation of parental rights and parental duties. And so this law helps prevent that sort of thing. But furthermore, one of the other things to consider is the whole area of sex trafficking. So, people who are literally, forgive the term, pimping out women, and these women become pregnant. Again, they're going to want their employees, if you will, to not be pregnant. They don't make money if they're pregnant. And so they're going to want to get abortions as well. So this sort of helps stop that practice as well.
That's really interesting. You did not really consider that. And do we know anything about that? About the percentages of people who are in? Because I'm thinking of here in Houston specifically. I'm sure this is prevalent in anybody's city, but in Houston, we know there are certain parts of the city where people who are the pimps are hanging out at, and these kind of women are there. Like, do you see a drop in that kind of activity with abortion being banned, or does that they just kind of get around it and get the abortions anyways, or what do we know about this?
Yeah, it's really early. It's hard to say what kind of stats we have on this sort of thing just yet. But we do know, for example, Idaho passed an anti-trafficking law over the summer. And we had a situation where a minor girl got pregnant by her teen boyfriend, and the boyfriend's mother tried to traffic her across state lines to get an abortion. It was found out, and the state is prosecuting the mother. So we know it can be effective. It sends that clear message that, simply put, you can't do these sorts of things. That obviously the teen girl's parents found out, and they wanted action to be taken, and the state acted upon it. Here in our particular case, what would happen is someone would find out and then obviously sue that person that tried to, drive the pregnant mother over state lines to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and I'd be very curious to see. Maybe I don't know if anybody even does studies on this, on how accurate you could even be, but I'd be very, very curious to see if the pro-life laws have any effect on the I would say, I guess, pimping industry, we can call it.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a thing, or if anybody tracks that kind of thing, because I've never thought about that until you just brought that up, and I think that's incredibly fascinating. Okay, so go ahead.
We do have some correlative knowledge with respect to parental notification and parental consent laws. We do know, for example, that teen abortion rates went down with that, and teen pregnancies went down as well.
Yeah, praise be to God. Okay, so that kind of gets to an interesting question, because many people have been talking about, and this stat was released, and I was immediately just, I don't believe statistics. I don't believe polls. I take them all with a grain of salt. I mean, I use them if they're beneficial to me, but otherwise I kind of just don't really trust them very much. But people were talking about, after Roe v. Wade, the abortions actually went up in terms of the national average, and the people were saying, see, the abortion laws do not work.
Well, again, I would simply say that there's been competing and contradictory studies that have been done as well. One fellow by the name of Dr. Michael New, he's a professor at Catholic University of America, has done intense studies on this particular issue. And while abortion rates have certainly gone up in certain locations, say like New York or California, that doesn't necessarily the overall abortion rate has gone up.
Yeah, I think it's important to keep in mind, as well as, I think I was trying to see what the statistics were trying to actually say, and it seemed as though it was tracking the abortions were going up already, and that we were seeing the trend just kind of stay the same and actually slightly go down, but it was still just going upwards and nationally as a whole. So, like I said, these statistics I'm always very skeptical of. I try to keep a very, very hermeneutic of skepticism in regards to these things. But Joe, where can people keep up to date with what's going on with St. Sebastian Society, or the Society of St. Sebastian? There we go. I'm going to get it. The Society of St. Sebastian, and get connected with you and your work.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to come to our websites, www.societyofstsebastian.org, and don't spell out saint, it's just ST. And sign up. Be sure to send us an email. You can sign up for our weekly email alerts, and we will keep you up to date with what's going on. We have some excellent writers from various organizations, Americans United for Life, National Right to Life, Charlotte Logier Institute, and so forth, that write on these particular policies, and we're quick to publish them and get them out there so everyone can see what's going on.
Very good. So praise be to God. Mr. Joe Kral with the Society of St. Sebastian. God bless you. God love you, and have a blessed day.
You do the same. Thank you.
And that's going to do it for our first hour. If you can hang with us for the next hour, we're going to be talking with Adam Bly. Adam Bly with the Spirit World. We'll be talking to him in just one moment. But before I do, I did want to mention, you're going to want to sign up for our email list. We have a really big announcement that we're going to make very, very soon. And the first people to find out will be the people on our email list. So go to grnonline.com/CDT, grnonline.com/CDT to sign up, and we will get that email when we're ready to announce it. God bless you. God love you. I'll see you very soon.
Started drinking beer on Saturday nights, sleeping in on Sunday mornings, missing Mass, and it just became a pattern and continued. Without God, I don't know where I'd be right now. I feel like I'm whole again. I know the importance of the Eucharist. I know the importance of the sacraments that I didn't know at a young age. I follow God's will because my desire is to get to heaven. Our lives are rich and full by being members of the church.
If you've been away from the Catholic Church, visit CatholicsComeHome.org.
Have you heard about life coaching? Hi, this is Coach Felicity with your Stand Tall Today Coaching Minute. Coaching is one of the things Jesus did with his disciples. Whenever they were stuck, overwhelmed, or even struggling a bit, Jesus asked questions that brought clarity and hope. He then used ongoing conversations that helped them to navigate the path and completely change their lives. Just like the disciples, we too can find ourselves feeling stuck, overwhelmed, and struggling a bit. Maybe you need help in your marriage or with a parenting issue. You're navigating a loss, you want to improve your health, or advance your career. At StandTallToday.com, our experienced coaches will help you to take another look at life, renew your hope, get past those challenges, and step into living abundantly. You can find out more about coaching and schedule a free introductory call by visiting us at StandTallToday.com. Listen, life is too short to stay stuck. Contact us at StandTallToday.com.
When you donate a car to the Guadalupe Radio Network, you're not only supporting your local Catholic radio station, you're also getting a great tax deduction. So if you have a vehicle that you don't want anymore, consider making a tax-deductible donation to the Guadalupe Radio Network by calling 1-866-628-CARS or go to grnonline.com and click on Donate. From the folks at the GRN, thank you, and may God abundantly bless you.
I also want to dialogue with all the young people Catholics are committed to building a society which is truly tolerant and inclusive. Let us treat others with the same passion and compassion with which we want to be treated.
Come and see what good things God is waiting for you at CatholicsComeHome.com.
And welcome back to Catholic Drive Time. This is your host, Adrian Fonseca. Praise be to God. It's good to be on with you today. Just wrapped up a very good conversation with Mr. Joe Kral with the Society of Saint Sebastian. I don't know why I keep wanting to say Saint Sebastian Society, but it's Society of Saint Sebastian. I don't know what it is. But there was Tim brought up an interesting question. I didn't see it until the end of our conversation there. He said, can the inhibition of travel by local government be used to threaten the rights of upstanding citizens, either through use or abuse of the law? Which I think is a great question, because that's kind of what I was trying to ask him at the beginning of the second segment. Because I was thinking, okay, are we going to have states prosecuting people in other states? And then what does that mean? Like, is that like immediately, I hate to say it, but you think Civil War, right? Like, you're going to have the northern states are free states and southern states are slave states. And then now you're going to have it kind of in a different way. You have like abortion states and then murder states, right? Pro-murder states and anti-murder states, pro-abortion states, anti-abortion states. And then you're like, okay, we're going to start prosecuting people, so they're going to flee to anti-abortion states. Like, is that what's going to happen? And what does that look like in the long run? Like, it's kind of concerning, to be honest. I mean, with tensions rising across the world, I don't like the idea of more violence. Of course, I mean, I'm 100% for people prosecuting people who commit abortions. So I'm 100% down for that. But I do not like the idea of a potential civil war with all the craziness going on in the world. Did you see that story, Rudy, of was it El Salvador, Venezuela getting ready to invade a neighboring country?
What?
Yeah.
No, I
yeah.
didn't see that.
They announced that they were going to invade a neighboring country because they wanted their oil. And I was like, oh my goodness, are we really going to get into a world war? And people are like, okay, but that's not World War, because people are not actually going to, they're not allying themselves. But this is kind of how it begins, right? You have war all over the world all at the same time, and because of our global interconnectedness, people have allies. And so, okay, you have Venezuela going to enrich its Guyana. It's spelled Guyana. Guyana, and they are going to invade them. And if they do, okay, so who is Guyana's allies? Who are their allies? Do they have any? Or is it just they're going to walk in and take the land? It's going to be no big deal. Obviously, invasion is always a big deal, at least to the people who live there, of course. But I'm talking on an international scale. I don't know. I have no idea. It's really interesting I have to look into and see if they have any relationships with anybody else. And then what will the United States do? Because Guyana did say, they asked, hey, are y'all going to protect us? And I mean, if we're going to get involved in any foreign wars, probably the ones closest to us would be the ones you want to get involved in. I probably don't want to get involved in this one either, to be honest. But if we're going to get involved in anything, something close to home is probably a good idea. And then you have the Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine, if you remember from high school, is the doctrine saying basically nobody outside of North and South America should be getting involved in North and South American politics. Like, if y'all start to have people coming in and influencing things here, the U.S. is going to get involved. So is someone going to come in because Venezuela is a socialist country? Or is China going to start helping Venezuela out? Is Russia going to help Venezuela out? There's a lot of question marks. A lot of question marks. And I don't have the answers. I just think it's really concerning that we see things happening in South America. And remember China, when I mentioned a few months ago about the four wars doctrine? They wanted a war in our southern border. It's not quite our southern border, Mexico, but it is south of our border. And so I think it is, in fact, a very concerning situation that we find ourselves in. We're getting very, very close to things that I just don't want to happen. So let's pray for peace. Let's promote peace, and stay holy. So that way, if we get caught up in a situation we don't want to be caught up in, we will at the very least, enter the kingdom of heaven. At the very least, right? Small thing. Enter the kingdom of heaven. Speaking of entering the kingdom of heaven, joining us right now is Adam Bly with the Spirit World. Good morning to you, Adam.
Good morning, Adrian. How are you?
I'm doing great. Praise be to God. I'm awake. I'm feeling invigorated. I had some water this morning. I don't drink coffee. That's a strange thing I don't do, but I try to. Are you a coffee drinker, Adam?
Ever since grad school, yes.
Since grad school, you were a late starter. You didn't do it during undergrad or high school. That's impressive.
Not much. Yep, first time through grad school. I'm finishing the second time now, but yeah, unfortunately, once it gets you, you're often hooked.
There you go. I was told, I was like in high school, I was like, I don't drink coffee. They're like, oh, when you get to college, you'll drink coffee. And then in college, you didn't drink coffee. And they're like, oh, when you get in the workforce, you'll start drinking coffee. And I just don't like the taste of it. It's like, meh, not a huge fan. But anyway, that's here nor there. Adam, we're talking today. I mean, can you believe how close we are to Christmas, Adam?
No, this year has flown by. And yeah, Advent to me is also flying by.
Exactly. That's how I feel. I looked at the calendar and I was thinking, oh my goodness, we missed Advent. Advent it was here for like 5 seconds. And now Christmas is like 12 days away. We're already counting down the days until Christmas Day. So what are you focusing in your personal life on for the Advent season?
Well, each year, and this is kind of a fun challenge we do on the show, and I think it's going to become a tradition, but we encourage everybody, and I'm trying to do this each week of Advent, to read one gospel, to find one sin that you've had, a struggle with, and really try to eliminate it. Find one person or one big situation that you can forgive and let go of, and then try to do one significant charitable act each week as kind of, a participation and concrete things to do. And so, not easy, but not impossible either, and just kind of an encouragement to conversion.
Adam, that's really interesting. You mentioned forgiving somebody, and that is honestly one of the most difficult things ever, because I was listening to a sermon recently about forgiveness, and it was brought up that you can say you forgive somebody, but then you can still hold those kind of resentments within your heart and within your mind. And so you may externally have said the words, I forgive this person, but you haven't really forgiven them. So what does that look like, practically speaking? How does somebody forgive somebody?
Well, I think you have to bring Jesus and the Holy Spirit into the situation, in the sense that, and this is just my 2 cents on it, in the sense that we mess up so much. I have for sure so many times I've fallen short. I've, without intending to, been hurtful to people, been careless. To look at it from God's perspective, we hope and expect to be forgiven endlessly. And for us to not forgive others seems particularly cruel when we're expecting God to forgive us and let us into heaven. To kind of remember, basically, who am I to judge? Who am I to say I'm perfect and this person, wasn't having a bad month or year in their life, that didn't have a rough upbringing that, led them to the point where maybe they were hurtful, they were wounded, where these things came from. I'm not saying all evil behavior is okay, but I think when we look at it try to, from God's perspective, it becomes a little easier to have some compassion and realize we do grow. Hopefully I'm a little better than I was in college or high school, and other people too. And to lock them into the version of them from whatever it was years ago and continue to judge them for that version of themselves just isn't, I think, the way Jesus sees us.
Okay, that's really, okay, there's two things there. One thing here is this common saying that people have in regards to forgiveness. And I always flip-flop on whether or not I think it's good or bad. And maybe you can give me the answer. People say you should forgive and forget. And then, some aspects people are saying, okay, well, you should not forget because you don't want that person to hurt you again. And then other people say, no, you should forget because you're not really forgiving them if you're still remembering it. I feel like there's like a middle ground, or the answer is it depends. So what say you, Adam?
Well, I think that's kind of more of a psych question and how our minds work. So I guess on a common sense level, it's impossible to forget unless you have, some brain issue happens. So you're not literally going to forget. And the second thing is that may not be charitable in the sense that if you've truly forgiven and maybe that relationship is healed, that person is working through their own life journey. They may still have guilt and sadness for those that they hurt earlier in life. And for you to be a friend moving forward, maybe you could help them talk through that or find ways for them to basically forgive themselves more fully. So to pretend things didn't happen, it's just, number one, not realistic, and two, in a sense, it's not charitable, because for our relationship to be real, those things did happen, and we can grow and see them as a point of growth and encouragement for each other. I don't think Paul says, if your brother sins, then forget his sin once he stops. It's a point of conversion. So we need to see, okay, I have that weakness. It's part of me. And by keeping that in my view, so to speak, I can grow more and keep that in check as opposed to pretending it's not there.
Adam, I was praying the prayer of St. Augustine this last Sunday at Mass. And in the prayer, it kind of talked about trying to understand the situation with our relationship with between ourselves and God, and how we kind of we beg God for forgiveness, and then as soon as God forgives us, we forget His mercy. And this is like we see it with the Jews in the Old Testament, right? This constant cycle of repentance and then going straight back to your idols. And I think this is something that happens to us all the time. Why do we do this, and how do we break free from it?
Well, I think the Carmelites help us with this when we look into Carmelite spirituality, because they basically say it's one thing to kind of grit your teeth and don't do that sin. It's another thing to kind of dig in the dirt and find the roots of the sin and the wellspring from which it's bubbling up into your life, and finding a way to extinguish that. So, if I lose my temper in certain situations and I just kind of force myself and grit my teeth and I don't let my temper fly, but I'm boiling inside, I haven't really overcome that sin. I'm just white-knuckling it through that. Whereas the Carmelites would tell us you need to find the source of that sin and process that and work through it, and then it will no longer be bubbling up inside of you. And that's actually the longer-term goal, is to extinguish kind of the sources of sin from your background. And in that sense, it's a very kind of psychological way to see it. We kind of do the same thing in psychology.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And unfortunately, we don't have time to dive into that further, because I would love to have 4 more follow-up questions with that. But we're out of time. Adam, where can people keep up to date, and where can people tune in for the Spirit World?
Well, Debbie and I do a show called The Spirit World, Saturdays 11 to 12 Eastern, here on the Guadalupe Radio Network. And I have some public information on religiousdemonology.com, and they can find the podcasts of previous shows really easily online just by Googling The Spirit World and maybe Adam Bly or Debbie Georgiani.
Well, praise be to God. Check it out, The Spirit World, 10 a.m. Central, 11 Eastern, across the Guadalupe Radio Network. God bless you, Adam. God love you, and have a blessed day.
God bless you.
All right, we're going to go into our Fear and Trembling game show. We're giving away prizes, so call in 877-757-9424, 877-757-9424. We always take the first caller, so you could be a winner. Here's the number one last time, 877-757-9424. We'll be right back with Fear and Trembling right after this.
Many years ago in France in the 1100s, there was a great saint, Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, who worked hard to reform the church with the division of those times. Saint Bernard often spoke of the three comings of Christ, appropriate for our Advent preparation. He reminded us that there was a joy when Jesus was born in Bethlehem. Joy to the world, let heaven and nature sing. Second, the saint speaks to Jesus present to us today. Do we see Jesus in the events and people around us each day? St. Bernard then points to the coming that is ahead of us, the final glory, the resurrection and last day. With that to look forward to, why do we worry about matters so much? For today, share your joy. Be present to see Christ among us, and stop worrying. This has been a bit of Catholic encouragement from Michael Gisandi.
I was raised a Catholic and went to church every Sunday faithfully. I met a boy and he was non-Catholic, so I left the church to be with him. When I was away from church, I yearned to be home. What brought me back was my longing for the Eucharist. The Eucharist fills me with the spirit that you can't find anywhere else. I have a peace when I walk through the doors of the Catholic Church, like that's where I belong.
We invite you to take another look at the Catholic Church. Visit CatholicsComeHome.org today.
Welcome to another round of Fear and Trembling, the Catholic trivia game show that helps you work out your salvation by the seat of your pants. It's a 50-50 chance and prizes are involved. Avoid the weeping and gnashing of teeth. Call now to take your shot. 877-757-9424.
877-757-9424. That's the number to call to be part of our game show, Fear and Trembling. And here's a trick. If you don't get on today, don't you worry, because there's still more opportunities. So if you're unable to get on today, don't worry. Tomorrow, there is more opportunities to be on. We always take the first caller, so make sure you write this number down, put it in your speed dial. You can call in early and just wait on hold. We'll get to you as soon as the segment begins, and you can be our first caller. So what do you have to do? Just keep this number and put it in your speed dial, 877-757-9424, and you will be our contestant. So you may be asking, though, contestant for what? You're giving numbers out. What are we talking about? What's going on? Well, let me explain it to you. It's really simple. It's really easy. I guarantee you, you're going to do great. I have in front of me 3 Catholic trivia questions. But the trick is, I'm not going to ask you the questions because you don't even need to know the answers. You could just guess, because I'm not going to ask you. I'm going to ask Rudy the questions. Rudy is going to give me an answer. And it's your job to tell me whether or not he is right or whether or not he is wrong. And every right answer goes into the coffee cup of divine providence to win this week's prize. Rudy, what could they win?
Praise be to God. This week we are giving away another one of these beautiful chartreuse coffee cup of divine providence. A coffee cup of divine providence replica is what you're going to be getting this week. It's going to be signed by yours truly and Adrian Fonseca. And if you'd like, we can get Tim to sign it as well. So if you are a fan of Catholic Drive Time, you want something to remember us by. Nah, I'm just kidding. Foreshadowing. Or am I? Things are coming down the pike, and your chances of getting this coffee cup of divine providence, they're coming to a close. Something's coming around the pike. Something different, something exciting is coming around the bend, and that's all I can say about it. But if you want to win, hedge your bets, call this week, and be a participant in our Fear and Trembling game show.
Well, praise be to God. So if you're going to want to win that prize, that number, make sure you have it in your speed dial, 877-757-9424. That's the number. make sure it's in your speed dial because you're going to want to make sure that you call in because like Rudy said, foreshadowing. We'll find out. But joining us right now is Elizabeth. Good morning to you, Elizabeth.
Good morning.
Good morning. Praise be to God. It's great to hear from you. Where are you calling in from?
San Angelo, Texas.
San Angelo, bro. Praise be to
Let's
God.
go.
That's amazing. I love San Angelo. What a beautiful name, too. The city of the angel. Who do you know who San Angelo is named after? Is it named after the angels, or is it named after like I'm thinking like Fra Angelico? But that's probably not right.
I actually don't know.
Yeah, probably the holy angels. That's my guess. My guess is probably the holy angels. Now, what's the best thing to do in San Angelo? If someone comes through San Angelo and they're like, "All right, Elizabeth, what am I doing in San Angelo? What's the thing you tell them to do?"
Honestly, around this time of year, there's a great light show down by the river.
Nice. By the river. All right, I know where I'm headed. I'm going to be heading to the river in San Angelo later today. No, not today. Can't do today. All right, maybe when it gets a little bit warmer and then it gets like 50 degrees.
So tomorrow.
We're good. Yeah, honestly. Is it cold in San Angelo?
It's not too bad. Right now it's 36, but it'll warm up pretty quick.
That's 36. Oh my. Okay, not too bad. Apparently it gets cold in San Angelo because 36 is freezing over here. But nonetheless, praise be to God. Thank you very much for calling in from San Angelo. What parish do you go to?
St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Rowena.
St. Joseph Catholic Church. Praise be to God. Now, Elizabeth, are you familiar with the game? Do you know how to play?
I think so.
Awesome. Well, you have to be careful. Rudy can be tricky. And I have to tell you ahead of time, full disclosure, Rudy is trying to sabotage me. So we'll find out how this goes today. All right, Elizabeth, are you ready for question number 1?
I am.
All right, let's do it. Question number 1 for you, Rudy. The question on the board is, what is the beast of burden?
The beast of burden.
It's not me. I'm not a beast. I know I am a beast. Like, let's go.
The beast of burden is a donkey.
A donkey?
Or a camel.
Or a camel.
I wonder if Our Lady called her donkey a beast of burden. I think she would have been nicer to the donkey.
You think so?
I think she would have been really gentle with it.
Yeah.
And
like that movie?
Maybe named it somehow.
What was the name of that movie about the donkey?
The Star?
The Star? Was it called The Star?
The Star, yeah.
Okay, well.
Kids movie, right?
Yeah, the kids one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Our Lady probably was nice to the creatures. I imagine Our Lady, complete side note, I imagine the animals were related to Our Lady the same way like the animals relate to like Snow White in these movies. They just like fluttered around her and they just loved her. And anyway, complete side note. Anyway, Elizabeth, 15 seconds on the clock. The question on the board is, what is a beast of burden? Well, Rudy says it's a donkey or a camel. What say you, Elizabeth, from San Angelo, Texas?
I'd say that I think he's right.
You think he's right? All right, let's find out. Survey says that is correct. That is correct, Elizabeth. You did nail it. 100% success rate so far. Of course, there's only one question so far, so 1 for 1.
I kind of want a beast of burden.
Yeah?
That would be kind of cool now.
Well, I'm a burden.
You'd save money on gas. That's true. You are a burden.
Mm-hmm.
You act like a beast sometimes too.
Yeah, that's what my mom told me when I was trying to eat dinner last night. I think it would cost more because it's a long ride from my house to the office.
Yeah, but there's grass
Imagine
everywhere.
going on a donkey that far.
There's grass on the side of the road. You don't have to buy hay. Perfect.
I don't know if that grass is good for donkeys to be eating. It might not.
This is prime Agenda 2030 resolutions right here. Okay, I'm gonna give them ideas.
All right, Elizabeth. Praise be to God. Are you ready for question number 2?
I am.
All right. The real question is, am I ready for question number 2? Here's the question for you, Rudy. Oh, man. The question on the board is, who writes these questions? The question on the board is, who were Gerlandi,
Gerlandaio.
Gerlandaio, and Perugino.
You know, the more things advance, the more things stay the same. So back in the 14th century, Ghirlandaio and Perugino, they were just your run-of-the-mill guys hanging out in the parking lot of Home Depot.
Okay.
All right. They didn't have Home Depot back then.
Okay, I'm following.
Okay. But they were construction workers. They were artisans. They were skilled in all kinds of different things.
They were paid-for masons.
Exactly.
Okay.
They picked them off the parking lot, and they came and built and worked on the Sistine Chapel.
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying. Okay. Whew, okay. Pray for me. I'm going to have to say these names again.
Ghirlandaio.
All right, Elizabeth. 15 seconds on the clock. The question on the board is, who were Ghirlandaio and Perugino? Rudy says they were two artisans who worked on the Sistine Chapel. What say you, Elizabeth from St. Joseph Catholic Church?
I think that he's incorrect.
You think he's incorrect? You're sure about that?
Not really, but we'll go with it.
All right, she's going to go with it. A survey says... Oh, no!
I may have embellished a little bit.
He may have.
They didn't pick him off at the side of the road. But you got to add a little bit of Italian flair to these names. Perugino.
So if I
Perugino,
if I do the hand motions, will I get the pronunciation better? Is it Ghirlandaio? Ghirlandaio. Is that right? Did I nail it that time?
Why do you sound like
I don't know,
like you're from Kazakhstan or something?
I can't say word. Look, English is my first language. You got to leave me alone. I barely know it. All right. Okay, Elizabeth, you're doing better than I am. Are you ready for question number 3?
I am.
All right, let's jump into question number 3. Question number 3 for you, Rudy. There better not be complicated words in this question, or else I'm just gonna get up and walk away. All right, the question on the board is, what are the? Oh man, what is this? Okay, the question on the board is, what are the annulus and baculus, the symbols of the authority of a bishop?
The annulus and the baculus. Man. I remember getting hit with the baculus.
Oh, yeah?
You don't want to get hit by that one. That one hurts.
You deserved it.
I did. That is his ring and his staff.
Okay. All right. So you're saying the bishop's ring and staff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. 15 seconds on the clock. Elizabeth, can you pronounce complicated words? No, that's my question. The question for you is, what are the annulus and baculus, the symbols of the authority of a bishop? Rudy says it's the bishop's ring and his staff. What say you, Elizabeth, from San Angelo, Texas?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Need your answer.
He's not right.
You said you think he's right?
Not right.
Are you sure you want to go with that?
No.
Final answer?
Final answer is I don't think he's right.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Oh, Elizabeth.
Hey, she's still in the coffee cup, though.
Yeah, don't worry, Elizabeth. You only need one chance to win, and you did great. These questions were complicated, and they were complicated for me to say. I mean, Rudy is just like abusing me today. I'm humiliated. Praise be to God. Thank you, Lord, for your humiliations. But God bless you, Elizabeth. God love you. Stay on the line so we can get your contact information. But have a blessed day. And that's going to do it for the radio side. If you want to join us in the after show, please do so. We'd love to chat with you. Just hop on Catholic Drive Time on your favorite social media platform. Your favorite social media platform, look up Catholic Drive Time. We would love to interact with you directly. But if not, we'll see you back here tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Central, 7 Eastern, across the Guadalupe Radio Network and Catholic Spirit Radio. God bless you. God love you. And we'll see you very soon.
Thank you for joining us on Your Catholic Drive Time, where it is our pleasure to keep you informed and inspired.
Join us Monday through Friday at the same time, right here on your favorite Catholic radio station.
Don't forget to connect with us. Just go to facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Again, that's facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Be sure to share more than just us today. Share Jesus with everyone you meet.
Bye now, and God love you.
Our boy, the artisan from Lowe's.
From Lowe's?
Garin.
They don't hang out at Lowe's, dude.
You told me they did.
No, Home Depot.
Oh, Home Depot.
I've never seen them at Lowe's. I wonder why.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, this just reinforces your theory.
About
that
contractors?
Lowe's is for contractors.
No,
no.
other way.
Home Depot is for contractors. Lowe's is for the enthusiast.
Yeah,
but you would
makes
think,
sense.
I mean, if you were a marketing genius, you would think the enthusiast is definitely going to need some help, right?
Yeah, but the enthusiast doesn't have the money to be hiring for help. That's why
true.
they're trying to do it themselves.
Kind of like Ghirlandaio, who apparently was like
a big deal.
He was a huge deal. Apparently, many people think of Michelangelo as a sculptor, but he received his early training as a painter in the workshop of Domenico Ghirlandaio.
Wow.
A leading master in Florence. It was only in about 1490, following his apprenticeship, that he learned to carve marble. So, Ghirlandaio, he's like a total G. Let's see. Perugino. What is Perugino known for? Let's see. They regarded Perugino as one of the leading painters in Florence and as the best master in Italy in 1500.
Wow.
Have you guys ever heard about these guys?
No.
It's always, they market Michelangelo, but you never hear about Perugino or Ghirlandaio. I mean, that's amazing.
Well,
poor guys.
They probably didn't know about them because
they're in obscurity.
Because they were at Home Depot. I didn't realize they had a Home Depot back
Won't
then.
be Home Depot in 14th century
They didn't have a
Florence.
Home Depot. No.
Where'd they get the materials from?
I'm looking up his paintings of this guy. It's really good. I'm really impressed.
The guy named Domenico, I mean, that's a cool name. I think maybe instead of naming my son, if I have a son, God willing, maybe I'll call him Domenico.
I could have said Domenico way better than I could have said Ghirlandaio.
Domenico Carlos, get over here right now.
That's a pretty epic name.
Dom. You don't turn your back on family.
Man, look at this painting. I'm going to send this in our Telegram chat.
Nobody can see that, dude.
I'm going to send it in our Telegram chat.
Are you looking at Perugino?
Yeah, looking at his paintings. Let's see.
Perugino painting.
Will it let me steal his paintings and post and copy and paste it?
Wow,
Yes,
this
it
dude
will.
looks like a
Look at
baller.
that. Look at that.
Oh, wow. He was a master.
Look at St. Thomas there.
Incredible.
Man.
This guy looks like he plays the bass. He looks like a bassist.
A bassist. Now, Rudy deliberately chose the most complicated names ever today. And I'm looking at the names like, oh my goodness, it's over for me. It is so over for me. Nick Carbone says, Viva Cristo Rey, viva la Virgen de Guadalupe, que viva. Lucy says, viva. Jeff Burrier, good morning. God bless you always. God bless you, Jeff. God bless you and your family. Give my regards to your children. I love your kids. They're awesome. Let's see. I was going to say who my favorite was, but I better not. Let's see. Amy, good morning to you. She said, Amy said, you guys are so weird.
You wouldn't understand.
You don't know the half of it.
You should listen to what we talk about after the show.
The after show is
Oh my
where
goodness.
it gets real spicy. Where it gets real spicy.
I wouldn't call it spicy. I would call it esoteric.
It is very esoteric. I had to keep telling Rudy to stop being so esoteric. He wants to always make references in our thumbnails and in the titles, and I'm like, do you know it's gonna get that? No, it's not gonna.
And then we asked a private third party, and he was like, "Yeah, I get it."
That's true.
So Adrian's not esoteric enough.
That could be okay. Fair. My mom, I think that's my mom, Mel Ann. I think that's my mom. Domenico was the name of Blessed Anne Maria Taici's husband. That's
Wow.
cool. Yeah, that has to be my mom because my mom's reading Blessed Anne Maria Tagi's life right now.
Wasn't
Lucy.
Is he the one? Is that the story? He was like an alcoholic or something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's the Blessed Anne Maria. Was it Anne Maria Taigi? I get her and Kanori Mora confused. I think Anne Maria Taigi was not the one.
think so.
I think it was
Yeah.
Kanori Mora. Her husband was the alcoholic. I think that's right.
Domenico.
Mom,
Domenico.
confirm or deny, please. My mom was trying to fact check me in our group chat yesterday, and so she said no. Okay, so it wasn't Anne Marie Taigi. It was.
She's saying
it was
no.
Victoria
I'm not your
Moore.
mom
Oh, okay.
anymore.
Awkward.
After yesterday.
She we were talking about losing your kids, right? And I was saying how my mom lost me at Disney World. She took us to Disney World back when I was like, I want to say I was like 13, maybe 14. It was before I had a cell phone, so it had to be before high school. So it was in middle school. So I was probably like 14, 13, something like that. And she, we went off. My parents went off to go, or the whole family went off to go ride Space Mountain. And when they went, I wanted to read. I don't like roller coasters.
Really?
I'm a chicken. I don't like roller coasters.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. I don't like roller coasters. I don't like anything. I'm not an adrenaline junkie by no stretch of the imagination. No stretch of the imagination.
See, your knees were getting weak.
And so I told him, I was like, I want to read the sign first, where it had like all the description of the ride. And I told my dad that's where I was going. I left, went over to the sign, and I was reading the sign. And when I finished reading it, I turned around, everybody was gone.
Oh no!
They got in line for the ride and didn't tell me, and I had no idea where they went. And so I'm like walking around, like, how am I gonna find them? Luckily, at the time, my sister was young enough, and my little brother, he stayed he liked to sit in the stroller as well, even though he was older. He was just lazy, and so we were, and so my mom parked the stroller one somewhere, and I saw it, and I was smart enough to think, oh, they're gonna have to come back for the stroller eventually. So I just sat in the stroller and waited for them to come back.
Flawless logic.
Yes, big brain thinking right there.
That is pretty big brain.
But then here's the craziest part. Guess how they found me? So my mom, my older sister, when they were in line, my older sister wanted to play a prank on my mom and try to scare her and tell her that Adrian was missing. And so my sister goes, Mom, look, there's Adrian over there. And my mom's like, where? And my sister goes, nah, I'm just kidding. And then my mom goes,
wait a minute.
No, wait, where's Adrian? And they were already in line for like ever. And my mom was like, it was not an hour. It was like 20 minutes. I was like, I don't know.
It felt like an hour.
It certainly felt like an
eternity.
Hour. Sitting there by myself in the stroller, just sitting there.
See, the problem with you, Adrian, is at that point you became a single rider. You could have gone into the single rider line,
caught up,
and done the ride 3 times by the time they were done.
That's true.
And then wait at the stroller.
That's true. I could have done that.
I'm gonna tell my kids that. I'm gonna say, look, if you get lost, if you realize that we're not with you anymore, go back to the point or stay in that area. Don't wander around.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna go back to
Go
that
hug
point.
a tree.
Go hug a tree. Maybe not. I don't know. It might be kind of weird at the mall. You just see a kid loitering there. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Maybe you have to have like a point of reference, like, oh, go to this store, this particular store. I don't know.
Start screaming immedially.
Just start screaming at the top of your lungs. We'll find you for sure.
Sweet.
Start screaming at the top of your lungs so I know where not to go. I also remember like going up and like I went up with a stranger because I thought it was my dad.
Oh man, I did that so many times. So embarrassing when I was a kid.
So awkward.
I like hugged some guy's leg. Yeah. And the dude looks down. He's like, "What?" And I turn around. My dad witnessed the entire thing.
My dad did too.
And he laughed.
Yeah, same.
He just laughed at me.
Yeah.
No wonder I have so many problems.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Yeah. I was thinking the other day, there's a tendency in psychology. You know, I was talking to friends. I'll give you some context. All right. So I'm talking to friends. And some of their family members are just kind of messed up. Like they have just weird hangups, you know, and some of them have gone to therapy and you know, they'll come back and say things like, well, you know, it was because when you were a kid, something with your dad happened and this and that. And I just can't help but wonder, because I've been through this myself. And it's only gotten to the point where, like, now that my dad's gone, I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't really realize. And becoming a father too, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna cut him a little bit of slack. But I think there's a tendency to, like, in psychology especially, to say, oh, it was like an issue with a parent, and you can actually cause a little bit of, or you can actually cast a little bit of blame because of that. And I just wonder, like, when your parents are dead, it's like really easy for you to do that because the guy's dead, right? Like if you say you had a father issue, it's like, oh yeah, it's easy. Like, just blame the dead guy, and you never really, I don't know, you never really work through it because the person's gone. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like what you said about, like, when you became a father, you're like, I can give my dad some more slack.
Oh man, yeah. And I've only been a dad for 2 years, but all of a sudden I realized, I was like, whoa, this is not easy.
Well, it took me, I mean, at a certain point in terms of just, like, development, obviously I'm not talking about being a father because I'm not, but I'm saying, like, at a certain point I kind of just realized, oh, my parents are people.
You identify as a father.
I identify as a father. I identify as a doctor, actually. On my Twitter feed, it still says that I identify as a doctor.
Nice.
At a certain point, I don't know when, I was maybe in high school. I don't know. At a certain point, it just dawned on me. My parents are human beings, and they have an interior life of their own, and they, like, they get sad, they get happy, they get mad, they have different, they're normal. They're human beings. And when you realize that, you're like, oh, like, maybe I should give them a little bit of slack. And maybe I should, like, treat them like human beings.
And then a minute later,
I'm like, Mom, I'm studying. Lucy says, are y'all going to the March for Life? I don't know. Should we go to the March for Life?
In D.C.?
In D.C.?
I've never been.
You've never been?
Not in D.C.
Oh, you should go. It's kind of hard
I've been
for
to
you.
D.C. once. Was not impressed. It was cold.
It is always very cold.
Everything's spaced out. Difficult to get around.
I wonder if I could do the show from the D.C. office.
Maybe.
I could go travel to the March for Life, do the show from D.C., do some interviews. That might be fun.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
March for Life. I don't like to go into crowds, so I try to avoid.
It's a big crowd.
I avoid crowds.
It's a big crowd.
I do the. We used to do actually the. Is it the March for Life in L.A.? It's like a pro-life rally. I can't remember what it was called, but there was a yearly pro-life rally around the same time, and we would do that every year, which was it was really cool up until I think probably 2020 is when we stopped doing it. Not because of COVID, but because there was just a lot of, like, really crazy people that would show up at that point. And I was like, I'm not really comfortable. And this was back in California, so it's not like it felt really safe.
Yeah.
So I stopped doing those.
I kind of just, so my problem is, and I'm probably going to regret saying this out loud, is I have a really hard time saying no to people. And so I basically just, whenever people invite me to something, I'm just like, yeah, sure. Why not? I'll go. I'm not doing anything. And so if someone says, hey, Adrian, you should go to the, so that's how I ended up going to the March for Life in El Paso.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they invited me and I was like, sure, why not? I'll go to March for Life in El Paso. No big deal. And I ended up going with Mr. Cesar Franco, the TFP. He called me and was like, hey, Mr. Adrian, I'm going to the March for Life in El Paso.
That's a great impression, by the way.
Thank you very much. I'm going to the March for Life in El Paso tomorrow. Would you like to join me? We'll go for the weekend. And he literally told me like 15 hours before going. And I was like,
dude, you're a single guy. You can up and go
and
whenever you
exactly.
want.
So I was like, let me check. And I just checked my schedule. Like, I'm not doing anything the weekend. So like, yeah, I'm free. I'm good. Let's go.
I could pencil you in. Yeah.
It's like, I have no life. Let's go.
Sometimes I miss those days.
I don't.
Enjoy them while you can, dude. Because there's times you won't be able to do it. It's not
nice.
A bad thing.
Yeah.
I never lament that, because it's like, I know that what I have to do is like what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, it's nice to just up and go sometimes.
Yeah, like when I went to the March for Life or the protest for the drag show in California.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
I
You
just got
just
tickets,
went to
just flew
California,
to California.
Didn't go to the restaurants until you go to.
Yeah, didn't go
the
to the
best
restaurants.
food in the world.
Went to the other ones and they were not very good.
Yeah. Come on, dude. Give me a break, man.
And then where else have I gone where I just kind of got up and went? Wisconsin. I just flew out to Wisconsin to help out with the flotilla.
He just was craving cheese curds.
Dude, the cheese curds over there are so good. Are so good.
If you don't mind my sharing, is my favorite. I don't get to share this story very often, but in my sophomore year in college, I was walking from North Campus down to South Campus, and a friend of mine from a different dorm drove by in a van and said, "Hey, we're going to my place for the weekend. You want to come?" I still had like my backpack on and all my stuff in my hands, and I'm like, I didn't even go back to my room, get a change of clothes. I was like, sure, why not? So I jumped in the back of the van. We drove from Southern California to Nevada.
What?
Yes.
That's wild.
That is crazy.
So that is spur of the moment.
I've never done anything like that.
Oh my goodness.
I only did that once.
And then you got a jackpot.
No, we just had a. You know, he wasn't in Vegas. I think it was like Truckee or nowhere was it?
Honestly, I'm
closer
not,
to Reno.
I'm not that spontaneous, to be honest. It sounds like I am, but I'm really not.
How could you go to Vegas and not gamble?
He didn't go to Vegas.
Wait, what?
He lived in rural Nevada.
Oh, but they have slots in the,
dude,
the gas station.
My brother likes to go to go gamble. I hate gambling. I hate it,
man.
I hate losing money.
Yeah,
I
do too.
I cannot.
I really like gambling on the X-Files slot machine, though.
Oh yeah,
always a winner
because it has an awesome sound effect.
Yeah, actually, the effects are really cool. I love that slot machine. I just love it. So good. And I love the X-Files.
Alberto said, in favor of the drag show, ?
Yeah.
No, Alberto.
He put on a wig.
The reason why I bring it up, though, is because I accidentally had this encounter, which was really funny. I was going to protest the Draggyland show in A&M. They were having a drag queen show at A&M campus. And they reached out to us and asked us to come and help them with it. So we drove out there, right? And so at the time, I didn't really wear a suit and tie ever. And the TFP invited me to go with them, and they were like, "Oh, but wear a suit and tie. That's kind of like our aesthetic while we're there." And I was like, "Okay, sure." So I wore a suit and tie to school because I was leaving right after school to go to A&M. And so I left, and one of the sisters, there was like 5 or 6 Dominican sisters that go to school there. And they saw me in a suit and tie, like, "Oh, Adrian, where are you dressed up for? Where are you going?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to A&M for a drag show." And I wasn't thinking, obviously, and so I didn't realize how that ended. And I was like,
right.
Okay,
mm-hmm.
Like people don't even dress in a suit and tie for like church. Imagine, that'd be terrible. We used to. I wonder if they still do it. For a few years before COVID, they had a drag queen Christmas in Houston that was open for children.
Ugh.
And so we would go out and we would protest outside of it, and we would have the Keep Christ at Christmas campaign, and we would sing Advent and Christmas carols outside of the place. And we're like, and we actually got a lot of people who stopped and actually joined the protest with us. And people were upset about it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, but like, who cares? Why do you care so much?" And we told them like it's for kids, and the kids are going, and they're like, "Oh wow, like that's crazy." The fact that they can get away with that is a little bit insane. Let's see. Jane says, "Good morning. The year I went, it wasn't cold. 2018." Jane, you went to March Life in DC. It really wasn't cold. That's wild. In January, it's always cold. Who here is going to the March for Life in DC? If you're going to the March for Life in DC, let me know. I don't know. Maybe I'll talk to the team and see if I can do the show out of DC.
I'll go if I can expense it on the company card.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Imagine.
No, that'd be dope. I'll have to talk to Joe Schuler and see if he can hook us up to use his studio. Let's see. Nick said, If lost, always yell out Marco. Where does that game come from? Does it come from like the explorer Marco Polo?
I think that makes sense.
Makes sense to me.
Well, maybe not. I think it should be Perugino and Ghirlandaio. Perugino, Ghirlandaio.
That makes sense. Whenever I become king,
I'm gonna name my son.
I'm gonna for name that's foreign will be Americanized.
What are you gonna do with the Portuguese guys?
So he's gonna be Gary, and Garandile is gonna be Gary. All the names.
What about Perugino?
He's gonna be Perry.
Perry.
Yeah.
Perry and Gary.
Yeah. Much better. Easy peasy.
I sense a sitcom coming on.
Honestly, it does kind of sound like a sitcom name, right? Let's see. The history. The game shares its name with the 13th century Italian trader and explorer Marco Polo. There does not appear to be any real connection between the game and the explorer of the same name, although according to one whimsical explanation, legend has it that the famed explorer didn't really have a clue as to where he was going, this being reflected in the player behavior. Although water polo is another popular game, the name Marco Polo is apparently unrelated.
I can't take them seriously when they say stuff like that. Like, yeah, he didn't know where he was going. Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't believe
that. Have you ever like just went out on a boat without a whimsy or a care? It's terrifying.
Yeah, especially to like travel.
And you're like, yeah,
across the world.
I don't know where I'm going. I have all the access to my rations, so we're fine. We're just going to go and explore. Come on, guys.
Be back in 6 to 8 months.
Give me a break.
Yeah, though, what's interesting? When you read about the Battle of Lepanto, that's kind of what they did.
Really?
Because they didn't know where the Muslims were. They knew that they were sailing towards Europe, but they had no idea where in the water they were. There's no way to know. And so they basically assumed, like, okay, this is the route that makes the most amount of sense to go to. So we're going to sail in that direction and hope we run into them.
We're going to zigzag, hopefully catch them in the act.
Basically.
See, but that's informed, though.
It's informed, yeah.
That's informed.
Yeah.
They have an idea of where to go. This is probably where they're going to attack. All right, let's go that way. But these guys make it sound like they're like, yeah, you just set off to the,
That's true.
Set off to the west, and, yeah, I don't know.
True. Yeah, I don't like that.
These guys thought that they could get to the end of the world and fall off. Seriously?
Yeah, whenever people make fun of explorers, I'm like, guys, can you even raise a sail? It's actually pretty hard. I did it for the first time a couple months ago, and it's way harder than I thought it was going to be. And I don't even know how to tie a knot.
What, are you serious?
Yeah, I literally don't know. I mean, obviously I know how to tie like a knot, like tying my shoes, but any terms like the sailor knots that they have,
that is true.
I have no idea how to do that.
Wow, dude, your shoes don't have laces.
Yeah, it's
do you
Velcro.
not know how to tie your shoes, dude?
Yeah, they're Velcro. Actually, I just wear slippers.
Imagine, dude.
That's where I wear boots, so I don't have to tie my shoes.
Boots. Don't get me started on boots, man.
I love boots.
I thought boots were like the democratic shoe of the West. All of a sudden, I don't know, cowboy boots. Like, cowboys aren't rich, right?
Yeah, but you would spend money on boots because they lasted you a long time.
I suppose.
Think about it this way.
But today, they're not made the same way.
Let's say
they're
boots
made in
last
a
you.
sweatshop.
How long have you had your boots?
My boots?
The ones you wear.
I don't know. I plucked them off a dead man.
3 years ago?
Yeah. 2 years ago.
2 years ago. So if you
I'm probably like the second owner.
If you wear shoes for 2 years, let's say the guy who had them before you wore them for a year, you got 3 years out of that shoe. If you were to buy a regular shoe, it would last you maybe a year.
No way.
And they cost like $75 per shoe, maybe more.
No way, dude.
And
I've had a pair of boots from, I'm talking about like rubber soled boots, 2019 all the way up to 2023. And they've just started to fall apart. And not from the sole.
From what?
From the vamp.
Well, how much did it cost?
$20.
$20?
Yeah. Leather shoes.
Okay, well then
floor shines.
Then go buy pleather boots. They sell them.
No, dude, you don't buy pleather. What's wrong? What's the matter with you?
Oh, you want to get a cheap boot?
Pleather.
If you want to get a cheap boot, You get there. You can buy like $100 boot for.
My logic is this:
fake leather.
If it's made in a sweatshop, and they're cutting corners using modern materials, there's no way that they can command the same price that they would for a handmade boot. I'm sorry, I do not agree with that. It's just absurd. Especially tennis shoes. Like, we were talking about tennis shoes yesterday.
No, those are ridiculous.
It's like recycled material most of the time. And then they market it to you like, oh, hey, you're doing something for the planet if you get these recycled materials.
So they can save money.
$2 worth of material, and they charge, what, $100 for this stuff? Yeah. I never understand sneaker culture. I run into these videos sometimes. They're like, oh, I got these sneakers. They were like $3,000. That's worth more than my car. A little cheap piece of plastic that you wear on your shoe, on your feet, that's going to wear out. Yeah, that's crazy.
You can buy alligator skin boots for that.
Yeah. You can. Yeah. You might even get custom ones.
Yeah.
Starting at that price.
Well, you can get, looked it up, you can get Cody James boots for $300, ostrich skin. $300.
Cody James?
Yeah.
I'll have to check him out.
Pretty nice.
Yeah, I called a repair guy yesterday, and the guy was like, yeah, it's going to cost you this much. I'm like, man, I could do the repair myself. I should just do that. I just don't have the equipment.
People are like, why are we talking about boots? Who cares about boots?
It's not. See, this conversation is not about boots. It's about the Industrial Revolution.
Honestly, I am a free market advocate, but at the same time, you think about... What is that song? Tim, do you know the song that was written by the English poet that became like the English national anthem?
God Save the King?
No, it was before God Save the King became popular.
Greensleeves?
It was something like, it was about Jesus coming to England.
Oh, William Blake, Jerusalem?
William Blake, Jerusalem, exactly.
Until we have built Jerusalem here on England's green and golden shores or something like that.
Exactly right. And one of the lines is the dark satanic mills.
Yes.
And he's talking about the Industrial Revolution and how the Industrial Revolution, just like the mills were...
I think Blake was before the Industrial Revolution.
Was he before the Industrial Revolution?
Check that.
Let's see. William Blake... Industrial Revolution. Because I thought he was referring to the smoke.
Right. He's right in the middle of it.
Yeah. Because he was talking about the smokestacks and how you would like literally you couldn't see the sky anymore. You couldn't see these things, and it was the Industrial Revolution was really bad. Like obviously it brought along good things later on, but at the time it just like it destroyed society. Upended. It had the Protestant work ethic was born out of the Industrial Revolution.
Coffee. Cigarettes.
That's true.
Tobacco. The two pillars of society now.
Yeah, that's true. And I think a lot of the things against the Industrial Revolution were probably exaggerated, but there were a lot of things that were really, really bad. But as you know, it's hard to determine because there's always the propaganda, and you're like, okay, what was propaganda and then what was actually the problems with the Industrial Revolution? Because some of the claims, I'm like, was it really that bad? And I don't know. But I wonder what the Industrial Revolution would have looked like if it was done by a more Catholic society. Like, I wonder what that would have looked like. I don't know. Because I feel as though that it would be more measured, more temperate. They wouldn't have gone all out so quickly and just like sort of building smokestacks every 5 feet. I feel like there would have been a more beautiful way to do it, a more elegant way to do it. So I'm not against it. I'm not against the free markets. But at the same time, I think we do have to be aware of some of the problems there. All right. We're out of time. See you guys tomorrow. Let me know your favorite Christmas movies. I want to know y'all's favorite Christmas movies. We're going to talk about that on Friday, and I want to have y'all's participation. So send me your favorite Christmas movies. Join our Telegram chat. We can interact with you directly there. Go to our email list. Sign up for our email list. I'll send you a link to our Telegram chat or reach out to me. My email is listed on our website, grnonline.com/CDT. You can shoot me an email. I try to respond as best I can. But God bless you guys. God love you. And we'll see you back tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Central, 7 Eastern. And I'll see y'all very soon.
Thank you for joining us on Your Catholic Drive Time, where it is our pleasure to keep you informed and inspired.
Join us Monday through Friday at the same time, right here on your favorite Catholic radio station.
Don't forget to connect with us. Just go to facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Again, that's facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Be sure to share more than just us today. Share Jesus with everyone you meet.
Bye now, and God love you.